With me today is the CEO of National Insurance Brokers Association, or NIBA as we like to call it, Dallas Booth. Welcome, Dallas.
Hi, Rod. Nice to be with you.
Thank you for giving us your time, mate. It's really appreciated, and I know a lot of people know you, and certainly many more know of you because of the role that you've had with NIBA for now 9 going on 10 years. So we'll talk a bit about that journey as we go through.
Sure.
But really happy to have you, mate, and thank you. And there's some things happening with NIBA of more recent times that we'll get to, but I think it's really important to give you the opportunity to use this platform and amongst others to tell us all what's happening, because I'm being really impressed with some of the news coming out. So it's good to hear. Before we get into that, mate, the first thing we need to get into is really the name Dallas. Okay, so to me, it's an impressive name. It's a name that brings back memories for me for 2 reasons. One is the TV show Dallas, which I loved as a kid. Growing up in a country town in New South Wales, I just loved that Texan whole setting, and J.R. Ewing to me was just an awesome character. And mate, so that's the first thing I think of when I hear your name. And the next thing I think of, being a former rugby league player myself and played lower grades for the Western Suburbs Magpies, John Dallas Donnelly, who would have to be the most uncompromising, toughest front row forward I think you could probably name. So tell me that you're a tough, uncompromising front row forward, please, Dallas, because that's the image I've got, mate. So you're a big unit. You're not small. You're a fairly large guy in terms of structure. You're not short or anything like that. So were you a rugby player, mate? Did you carry the name Dallas well?
Look, I went to 2 high schools. I did first 4 years, I played rugby union at Chevalier College, Bowral in New South Wales.
Yep.
Then came up to Sydney. I finished the last 2 years of high school in Sydney at Morris Brothers Eastwood, and I played rugby league. And I did not distinguish myself in anywhere. I think I might have actually scored a try in one of those 2 years there. So that was a big thing. Look,
that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's get to the NIBA times, because that's the most important part of the current setting. Interesting times. COVID. How did that impact on NIBA? I could probably guess a few things, but I think it's best that you tell us. How's COVID had an impact on NIBA particularly, and then also the role NIBA's played during COVID?
Well, 19th of March 2020 was a good day for us. There was a scare in the building. It wasn't in our office, but it was actually in the office above,
right,
in the floor above us in North Sydney. And we looked at each other and said, right, we're out of here. Threw a few things into a briefcase and pretty well haven't been back. I'm really pleased. So the NIBA team literally went home that day, and I went home, and I'm still at home. This is working from home, Dallas, in front of you at the moment.
Yes.
I'm really pleased that our team are continuing to work and do what they have to do and produce the sort of things that NIBA does, working from home, still working collaboratively, spending a lot of time on Zoom and MS Teams and so on. This is how we're working. I'm pretty confident that we are still as effective as we normally are. Our lawyer, Mark Radford, who I work with very closely with,
yes, I know Mark.
He lives in the next suburb to me, so we have meetings in our local coffee shop and so on. So we are going back to North Sydney a little bit as required, but I'm really pleased.
Let's talk about the ESL Hub. I'd like to jump straight into that, because that's what triggered my initial interest in wanting to speak to you formally in this capacity. But that's a fantastic initiative. ESL, the Emergency Services Levy, it's in the category of payroll tax for me. It makes no sense whatsoever to have that leveraged on insurance premiums. Fortunately, in most states other than New South Wales, common sense has prevailed. Took a long time to get to that point. New South Wales is dragging the chain. Tell me about the hub, its purpose, and why we maybe start with why we created it at NIBA. What's behind the strategy?
So we've been talking to New South Wales government for 5 years or more about the extent to which the ESL levy adds to the cost of insurance in New South Wales. Look, let's cut to the chase. It increases the cost of domestic insurance by between 20 and 30%. It increases the cost of commercial insurance in New South Wales between 65 and 70%.
That's terrible.
So if the premium's $1,000, okay, you've got to pay your 10% at GST.
Yep.
But ultimately, you're going to pay 70% more than your premium to get the benefit of an insurance policy in New South Wales. This is just appalling. This financial year, New South Wales government's going to raise $1.1 billion from premium payers to fund the emergency services. Now, that's premium payers, right? It's not property owners.
That's right.
It's premium payers.
Yeah, uninsured people as well get the benefit, right?
Or if you finance your risks in some other mechanism, if you've got a fancy, sophisticated process, you don't pay it. If you're able to get access to a mutual fund, you don't pay the levy. You get the fire brigade, you get the SES, you get everybody turns up on your door when you need them, but you don't make a contribution. It is grossly unfair and it is very expensive. We've been getting New South Wales government decided to do it. And then at the very last minute, they changed their mind. And we were massively disappointed, not because of the impact on brokers, but because of the impact on clients. And that was the crazy part about it. We've been trying to talk to government ever since to say, well, what really was the problem? Why did you change your mind? What can we do to make this job finished? And we get no response. So the purpose of the ESL hub is quite simple. If they're not going to listen to NIBA, they're not going to listen to the Insurance Council, they might, with a good chance, they'll listen to policyholders and voters. And so the idea is to give insurance brokers a bunch of resources, some information packs that they can share with their clients, and then the clients can take to their local member of parliament and start a groundswell of pressure on the government to say, this is just ridiculous, this is unfair, it's inequitable, you've got to do something about it. Every other mainland state has fixed this issue. Emergency funding in Western Australia is not an issue. There's a levy there on property. It's transparent. It's easy. Everybody knows what it is. It's a bit different depending upon whether you're metropolitan, regional, rural, outback.
Very fair and equitable, Dallas. Very fair and equitable. Makes a lot of sense.
Works. Absolute opposite in New South Wales. So we want to just get a groundswell of activity happening and ultimately get real pressure on the government to look to make sure that this thing is funded in a far better way. So that's what the ESL hub's all about.
Well, it's a great initiative, Dallas, and thank you. And we talk about advocation, and we're going to be talking to Dr. Alan Manning at some stage soon as well, and he's very proactive as well, as you know, in this area.
Absolutely.
But this is a fantastic initiative and really good to see NIBA doing this. I'd encourage all the insurance brokers to go to the hub. I've had a good look at it. There's some great tools there. We'll have that on our podcast links, and they'll see that. But I'd just like to congratulate you and the team for doing that. I thought it was a very good initiative, so thank you for that.
SRG Group, award-winning insurance brokers based in Perth, offer competitive insurance premiums for all businesses. To find out why thousands of businesses use SRG for their insurance needs, go to srggroup.com.au.
In terms of insurance broking going forward, as our peak body representative, what's our biggest challenges do you see ahead of us, mate? There's obviously shadows called the Royal Commission, and we're all jumping around a bit at times, and we're starting to I think second guess things. So, in terms of what you're seeing ahead of you and your role that you've been playing, what do you think our challenges are, and how does NIBA fit into that scenario?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things happening that we're observing. The first one is the insurance market. It's a really tough situation, and so nothing much NIBA can do about that. But we're talking to the Insurance Council, we're talking with government, we talk to Treasury about this sort of stuff regularly. But it's just going to be a real challenge for brokers for the next year or two, perhaps. The second one is regulation. The federal government is about to introduce probably about 10 or 12 pieces of legislation into the parliament in the next few weeks. It's going to be an avalanche, and you're going to see stuff coming out of NIBA over the next 12 months, which some of it will be peripheral, some of it will change what you do. And so we're just going to make it as digestible as we possibly can. We've been working really hard behind the scenes to try and get it to make sense. Going right, what I said at the start, trying to make sure the law works in a proper and efficient and a fair way. And some of this stuff has serious questions about that. So that's going to be a challenge for the next 12 months, is getting your head around these Royal Commission reforms and how they're going to impact on your business and how you operate within your business. The third one is technology. I don't see a big digital disruptor, but all the time technology is getting better and better and better and better and better. So it's soon going to reach the point where Every routine transaction will be automated. And so what is the role of broker and the broker office? The broker office is to be 100% the trusted advisor of the client, and with the effort devoted to looking after clients in the best possible way. And that's, most brokers are already trying desperately to do that. Behind all of this is the idea of professionalism.
Yes.
And that's the second of our three core objectives at NIBA. Representation. That's what we do. That's what I do. That's where I spend most of my time. The second one is professionalism, being professional in what you do and how you present and how you look after your clients. And the third one is community, bringing the industry together and celebrating and learning and so on. So the professionalism thing, making sure that the good news we had out of the Royal Commission, no broker misconduct.
No.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Excellent.
result for brokers. That's not NIBA, that's brokers, right? You guys do really good work, and brokers generally do really good work. What you don't do is tell the world about it.
No,
So
we're very bad at that.
We've decided, so what we did, we've got Deloitte Access Economics to come in and look at what insurance brokers do and to try and find a way to describe it and to measure the value that brokers deliver. And we're going to launch their report around the 12th or 13th of October. We have a report now ready to go, which is going to tell the world the true role that brokers do and how they work, but more importantly, the value that they deliver to the insurance process, to clients, to the community, to society, to the economy. This is important stuff. And so we've got a report from Deloitte that's going to hit the decks in a couple of weeks' time. And this is, we'll back that up with a communications campaign to identify a whole bunch of target audiences, to introduce them to what insurance broking is all about and the value proposition that it implies.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I think this is going to be one of the most important things over the next 12 months, 18 months for NIBA to be doing, and to really get insurance brokers out from under the shadows and onto the front foot to see and show the world what you people do and the good things that are happening each and every day.
Well, that sounds fantastic. That's a fantastic initiative, and that tells me that we're going to have a really good story to tell over the next 12 months, thanks to that initiative with the Deloitte report.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're running out of time. We're always going to, because there's a lot to talk about with you. And we didn't get into all the humorous stuff, but apart from your name, which I still think is a great story, let's talk for the last couple of minutes. Give us the pitch for the conference, mate, because I'm excited about what's coming on. It's a very innovative idea that you've come up with and the team there. So can you give me a good plug on what this conference is going to deliver?
Just in terms of format, NIBA conference is normally 2 full days and a bit of a party in between. We thought 2 full days of screen time is just too much, so we're doing three hours a day over 5 days. Okay. So it'll be in the afternoons in Sydney, and we've done that deliberately to make it convenient for Western Australia. So we're not starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're starting at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon Sydney time, and we'll make it really easy for people right across the country to get access to it. And a couple of big sessions each day, so that you won't have massive amounts of screen time, and you'll still be able to do most of your day job at the same time, either before or after NIBA conference.
And guest speakers, Dallas? You'll have guest speakers, people of interest, I'd imagine.
So we've got the question marks that we had was, what are the big challenges? There's a couple of things. What's happening in the economy, and what's the world going to look like in the next 12 months? And then secondly, behind that is resilience. And it's resilience for people themselves. And we know that a lot of people, because they're working from home, they haven't got the natural support mechanisms that an office environment can give. And so there's been a lot of, and particularly in a really tough insurance market, we want people to be personally resilient. We're going to cover that a hell of a lot, but we want businesses, insurance broking businesses, to be resilient. And so we want resilience. We want uncertainty. We want leadership by people like yourself, remember the principles of the businesses. What's leadership look like in times of COVID?
Yep.
So Gihan Pereira is talking about the uncertainty and managing in uncertain times. Kirsten Ferguson, who we're coming back by popular demand, just blew us away at NIBA conference last year. She's going to talk about leadership in times of such uncertainty. And I said to her the other day, surely her own military background is going to be relevant for that. She said, absolutely. So she'll share that with us.
You got a good lineup. Yeah, I can sense that.
It's important that we talk about the economy and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And because there is uncertainties. I want brokers. I don't want a broker to be the Australian expert in some area of activity which is dying. I want brokers to be the expert in the areas of activity that are growing.
Well, Dallas, I'm going to have to stop you there, mate, because we're going to run out of Zoom time, I think. But I want to say that that's enough, I think, to tell people that there's some very interesting topics, and we've got a very good platform to watch that through. And I'll be we'll have all the information on the podcast, and we'll certainly do our bit to promote it, mate. And just again, congratulations to you and your team for doing such an innovative thing. But in particular, personally, thank you, mate, for making this time available. It's a pleasure to have you. And it's great to see you in digital world at least, and one day we'll have a beer and we'll reflect on this process. But thanks, mate. I'd just like to say you've done an amazing job, and thank you for everything you're doing, and thanks to all your team at NIBA.
Cheers, Rod. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
See you, Dallas. See you, buddy.
Got it.
Hello, this is Gihan Pereira. I'm really looking forward to speaking at the virtual conference this year. And the theme, Navigating the Winds of Change, is perfect because 2020, of course, has thrown a lot of curveballs and challenges our way and has created massive change for so many people in so many different ways. And with change, of course, there are some challenges, but there are also some opportunities as well. And you may be sick of hearing people say that we're living in unprecedented times. And it's true, but it's only unprecedented because it's happening to everybody at the same time. And over the last 10 years, I've worked with a number of people, leaders and business owners and organizations and even entire industries that have also been going through massive change and disruption. I know one of the things that happens when we've got change and uncertainty is that people are looking around for real leaders. They're really looking for people to stand up and take the lead in navigating through that uncertainty. And one of the ways you can do that is look at what people's priorities are, because when there's uncertainty, people reevaluate what's important to them and what really matters. And so the people who succeed are the ones who go back to basics and they say, what problems are we solving for our customers? Are the solutions that we've offered them still right for them? Is this the best that we can do? How can we do better? And how can we tap into the skills and talents of our team to continue to solve our customers' real problems? That's the best way that you can be fit for the future. I look forward to joining you at the conference soon.